If, like that driver and me, you've driven down this bypass countless times, I bet you never realised there was ever a railway station here, because there are absolutely no clues as a driver that this was once a railway station, but there are still some signs. But in order to see them, you need to have a look in the bushes. So come on, let's take a look. Now, this is what I was talking about. I know I'm roughly in the right position for the old platforms because the station cottages are just up there at the top of this embankment, and those were there at the time of the railway and they haven't shifted. So looking at the maps and old photographs, I know that right here, this is the southbound platform of the old Stenning line. One further clue is this wall. If we look back at the old photographs, you can see at the back of the platform that there was this wall that went along, and just up there, there is the old footbridge. So if you were standing on this platform in 1964 and you drop your football, I found it. There are other clues as well, more serious ones, that we can discover by walking along here. Now, the thing I want to try and find is further along. Looking back at the old images, we can see that there was a building that was tied into the higher section of the retaining wall. And even though the building's gone, I'd like to see if there are any signs of it on the wall. However, it is rather bramble and nettle ridden, so it might be tricky to get through. I note that producer and the director have sent me into the brambles. Let's see if I can find it. So as I make my way through this undergrowth, it's making me think that this beautiful wall, which is 160 years old, probably hasn't been seen properly for decades. The last passenger who would have leant against this while they were waiting for their train, perhaps reading the newspaper of the day, would have had a good old look at this. But the platform, which is right below me, of course, has long gone. But the thing I'm looking for is the building that would have projected out from here. So I'm actually on the platform. Right up there we can see the cottages, and this wall, this retaining wall, is holding back tons of ground that's been there for so many decades, still doing its job, which is an absolute credit to the craftsman who built this beautiful wall, which is still in this position in perfect condition. Now up here, there's the corner I was looking for. This is the end of the wall in its current position, so I know that right behind me would have been the waiting room on the southbound platform. But for all those decades, people would have sat here waiting for the train. But now it's all gone, just the brambles and the nettles. But it's still wonderful to know that there are a few lurking traces of the old buildings. So this is where Chris Rogers' grandfather Morris is buried, here at St Andrew's Church in Stenning. Morris Rogers worked for the Royal Engineers on the railways during the Great War, and after that he ended up working at Stenning Railway Station, where he was proud to be their station master. Now, we're not here out of morbid curiosity. We're here to show that back then people were a lot more loyal to their profession. They didn't change jobs like we tend to these days. And it's also very common for them to be born, grow up and ultimately die in the same town. Very fitting, in fact, that the Stenning Station Master is the first line on his gravestone, showing how important it was to Morris. Now, we could see from those photographs of the beading siding signal box that it was built on a slope, but there was some kind of base. And even though the box is long gone, I'm curious to know whether there's any signs of the base remaining. Now, we know, I can see through here that the cement works is there, so we know that it's around here, but the problem we've got is it's all so overgrown you really can't see anything. But we've done some homework for you. We looked on some old Ordnance Survey maps, found the position of the box, And with those coordinates, we've converted them into 3 words that you can search using the What 3 Words app. So if I get that going and type in the words, typically term arming. Don't get that wrong, or you might end up in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or somewhere. Now, it says we are very close. We know it's going to be on that side, and it looks like it is about 10-15 meters away, which matches up with our position from the cement works. Just wait for a bike. So it should be somewhere over here behind this tree. I think I found something. Let's have a look here. Yes, there are 3 concrete pillars, like big piers. Now, we saw on the photo that this is built on an embankment. The field is quite far below, and this is on quite a drastic slope. And these 3 pillars obviously had the box sitting on it. I'm so pleased we actually found it. Now, we're on an embankment here. I can see the fields down below, and actually, I think this is another clue. This looks like railway ballast because, of course, they took the lines and the sleepers away, but they would have never shifted all this. Of course, the Downslink footpath is quite narrow, but this was a double track, so it's highly likely that this ballast is from the old Stenning line. There's one final thing that I would like to show you. Buried in the grass, just before the toll bridge, we have some railway lines. Let's take a look. So buried here in the turf near the path are 2 last little pieces of track. It's a double track, but one thing to point out is that the railway line was actually there and not here. These have been re-sited, just as a little reminder, if you like, that there once used to be a railway line along this path. But it does go to show, doesn't it, that these 2 are disappearing. This little bit of track used to extend a little further to the north over a footpath where the rails were concreted in and used to just walk over them to get to the toll bridge. The path was recently rebuilt and they chopped off a bit of the track, and that's been removed. And these last pieces are all being buried under the grass, so you never know. In a few years, even these may disappear from sight.